This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to my review of the Sandman. And with this, I'm going to push back every video, besides a few that are already set in their place, back a day. So unless it is a video that usually come out on that day, like a Lego review or my Clone Wars review on Saturday, I'm going to be back one day, and that's mainly because I don't have enough time to go and record and edit now the Clone Wars video on Monday, which would be the day before. And for that, I just had a lot of stuff to do today. And I'm just taking this break to go and record. Still wanted to make a video. And I also completely forgot that I'd be able to make this video because I was watching The Sandman and I just finished it, but I wasn't thinking about that when I made the weekly update. So with it, I'll be moving most videos back at least a day, but with it, I do want to talk about the show. I really enjoyed it overall. There were some things I didn't love fully, but I think it was a great show, and I would definitely recommend watching it. And just going into this is my thoughts overall. I really enjoyed the show. I think they did a really good job with it, and it definitely had some great episodes. And while I'm watching, it was all really compelling to see the journey that Morpheus went on to, and how he was evolving and changing as a character and becoming a better person. And I was surprised to see that they dropped the 11th episode on Friday, which is the day I watched what would have been the final two episodes. And with it, once I saw it was the third one, I was like, did I look at it the wrong way and misremember? And I went and checked, and I was surprised that they dropped an 11th one, and I'm pretty sure everyone else was also, from what it looks like online. And yeah, with it, just going through the main season, it has a really interesting and compelling story throughout it, where you get a bunch of small side stories that are ultimately loosely connected, but it's still really interesting with it having, I'd say, two main storylines that go on with it, where you get to see his imprisonment, his escape, and him going to reclaim his different artifacts. And then after that, you get the entire storyline with the Dream Vortex, and then a few transition episodes. And with that, you have really two ones, with the really great one, which is definitely one of my favorites for the end half, more than the first half. Episode 6, and then the episode 11, which acts as a transition between the first storyline and the second one. And then episode 11 acts as a transition between season 1 and, if it happens, I'm sure it will, season 2. But with how weird Warner Brothers and Discovery have been, I honestly have no guarantees that any show will continue, since they're going and just canceling stuff randomly. I'll probably make a video about that, but I'll still wait a few days just to see if anything else gets even more crazy, since it's just continued to get more and more insane. But yeah, looking at it, this has all been pretty great so far. And I really do want to see another season of it. And looking at the storyline for the first half, it's just really interesting to see how Morpheus is first imprisoned, and after that he goes and he's forced to get his power back. He has to go and make deals and go through some interesting stuff. And with it, one of the few complaints I have is the gender swap Constantine didn't really feel like Constantine. With this felt like more, a character to show the best of humanity to Morpheus. And if you know Constantine as a character, he is not the best of humanity. He is someone that almost every person that knows him hates him in universe, and he's not really a good person. And when I saw this version of Constantine, I didn't recognize the character in her, and they did well with other characters like the devil, who is typically seen as male, but with Constantine, the spirit of the character just didn't feel like it was brought to Constantine, and they just basically created a new character and tried to use John Constantine as the base of it, but it really just didn't feel like Constantine at all. But yeah, I think that's just at least a personal opinion of mine. I'm not sure what other people thought of the Constantine, since I haven't seen too much stuff about it. I've seen some reviews, but it's more talking about the ending, and I didn't really see reactions to the Constantine change. And as I said, I wouldn't really care about the gender swap if it felt like Constantine, but this didn't feel like Constantine at all. And that was probably my main problem with the entire first half because, as I said, I was totally fine with them not doing the devil as the devil is typically seen being male because the devil felt like the devil, and that was just really interesting to see. There was also that really cool fight where it's really not what you would expect, unless you read the comic, because I'm assuming that's how it went in the comic also, because you see there's going to be a duel between both Morpheus and the devil, and you're thinking that they're going to fight and not be doing this thing where they go and try to find something more powerful than the other. And with it, you had some cool stuff like the mention of anti-life and other things, and you could definitely see how this is related to DC, although they're not fully putting it into the DC universe. Since from what I saw, I've seen a few videos talking about it, they did change characters to not be the ones from DC. Like one of the villains was supposed to be Doctor Destiny, who was most famous for his probably to the general audience either his appearance in the Justice League animated show or for people that are a little younger for his appearance in the Arrowverse in the Crisis. No, not Crisis. It's the Elseworld storyline where he served as the main villain. But with it, they just changed it to be the son of the woman who would go and steal everything from Morpheus. And with it, it was still interesting to see all that there, and I still enjoyed the story. I didn't know about the changes until after, and I don't think I would have done too much to change with Dr. Destiny besides really just giving a face that some people would have recognized, but since Dr. Destiny isn't the biggest DC villain ever, it doesn't matter too much. If it was someone like, I don't know, Lex Luthor or the Joker that was a major part of the story, you may have felt, a little insulted and wanted to see that. But since it's Dr. Destiny and they still did the episodes really well, I'm definitely willing to forgive it. And since I wasn't too well known with the story, I still really liked it. And just looking at other stuff from the first half of the season, I'd say it's not too much to talk about. It's a really enjoyable season, and I had a lot of fun watching it, and it was a great watch of it, and it was just really interesting to see. And I don't know if I have too much to say. Moving into the transition episode, The Sound for Wings, and this serves pretty similar in a way to how episode 11 works, with it being two separate storylines. The first one is Morpheus is kind of depressed, and his sister Death goes and shows him just really her job, and that he needs to go and enjoy his work and find a way to do that. And with that, the storyline, it's a decent one. I know a lot of people love it from the comics, from what I heard, but personally, I love the second story even more, which was a really interesting one where we get to see a man that is made immortal and meets with Morpheus every 100 years, and you get to see just how much he loves to live life and how he will just keep going on, and even if he faces hard stuff, he's gonna still have a positive outlook, and is Morpheus is one of his few friends. And you can definitely see his disappointment in his eyes when Morpheus doesn't visit him in the 1900s, or the 20, yeah, the 1900s, when he's imprisoned, and he thinks it's because of the fight they had, but when he shows up later on in the present day, it still is really cool to see, and I honestly just really loved it. It was super cool to see everything going on, and I really did enjoy it. And just moving on to the second half of the season with the storyline involving Rose and the Dream Vortex, I didn't enjoy it as much as the first half. I still think the story was interesting. I just really preferred the first half of the season, thinking it was a lot more intriguing than the second half. And even with the second half, I don't have that much to say about it. It was an interesting story where you got to see some cool stuff. Like, I really love the stuff with the Corinthian in it and how his story ended up. And Rose was a decent character, and just seeing the final changes made in Morpheus was also really cool to see. Besides that, I think the story was decent. It wasn't the best thing ever, and as I said, I really enjoyed the first half of the show a lot more than the second half. But the second half was still really good, and the storyline throughout it was really interesting. I think that the reveal that the older man was one of the dreams was extremely obvious. And then I watched some of these shows with my dad, and I went and told him, yeah, this is clearly one of the dreams that is missing. And when it was revealed later on that I was like, hey, I told you. It was also really obvious that the grandma was gonna die. And with it, I said the exact same, like, hey, she's dead. She's talking in a way that a character does when they're about to be killed off. And I was right about that also, with her being the original Dream Vortex. And with all this, it's really interesting in the second half to see how it's setting up more stuff to go on in the future. But with it, as I said, it's definitely not my favorite storyline, and I definitely enjoyed the first half more. Although the last episode, which is the transition one that just dropped on Friday, had a really great part of it, and then a kind of weird part. But with it, I still had a great time watching The Sandman, and just to put my closing thoughts on the normal season as a whole, the season that most people watch straight through and then may not even discovered yet. There's an episode 11 yet. I would definitely recommend to watch it. and I really enjoyed it. I think it was such a great show, and I really would like to see a season 2. And just to move on to everything going on with the events in the last episode, the cat episode was really weird since it's 2 episodes put into one. Yeah, it's just a really weird like cat episode. It was all animated, and for it also looks like some of the cast was changed. And I think that it was an okay episode. The cat part was probably, the worst one of the entire season. If we take a look at the individual stories. But the second one, that was a really good one where we get to see, I believe it's Calliope imprisoned by the guy who plays Rapunzel from Legends. And that's how I saw him, even though I know he's playing a different character. He was playing an author, I believe that was named Rick, and he was not a good person. He went and continued to imprison her and used her to make his writing better, and you can definitely see how bad it was to her and how she went and begged Morpheus for help once he was freed, and the relationship they have, and he went and helped her. This clearly happened after the events of the show, since you can really see the change in him, and it was just really nice to see just how this went, and I really did enjoy that storyline to see just how Morpheus has changed in the end, but also everything with Calliope was interesting, and how Rick goes and is tormented at the end. You could definitely don't feel sorry for him, but you just know that he could have made different decisions and things would have winded up so much differently. But yeah, honestly, I really just love this show. I just wanted to talk about it, and I want to know what you thought of it. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.